Hi, my name is Robert Watson, and the subject I chose to do my advocacy speech on is why college athletes should be paid. Okay, so for many years on end, the thoughts of paying college athletes seems to be brought up every single year when any type of NCAA sports, especially with college football and college basketball. Having done a presentation on this topic in my sports management class last semester, I figured it'd be another great way to inform people on why college athletes should indeed be paid. I chose to do this topic because I'm a very avid sports participant and bystander as well. We should care about this topic because it's a very big topic every year, especially towards the end of the school year, because it shows how much money these athletes do bring into their school or university. The parties involved with this is the NCAA and the athletes, of course, who play any type of NCAA sport. More specifically, is talked about the Division One athletes because they bring in more money than Division Two or Division Three athletes, but the Division Two and Division Three athletes also have a right to argue because they put in just as much time as these Division One athletes, and they want to get some type of compensation for how much time and work that they do put in to their sport. Athletes' voices should be heard all across the U.S. and the whole world, and them wanting some type of compensation for the money that they do bring into the university. So the experience I bring into the table when talking about the subject is I did a project last semester in my sports management class because I'm a sports management major, and this is one of the big topics that we talked about. And personally, I did a group project on this, and I do know a lot about this specific subject from past research done. ESPN is a very trustworthy site that I used last semester when talking about this, but I wanted to expand out and use different sources to see what they had to say, and pretty much the outside sources that I stated in my reference page said almost identical to the same thing that ESPN had to say about this topic. So some logical statements or some logical arguments I can say are stated later below in my speech. Okay, so the first reason that these athletes should be paid is just the amount of time and commitment that they put into these sports, and they should have some type of compensation for the dedication that they do put into these sports. Mark Edelman, he stated that the college sports industry brings in $11 billion each year to schools across the U.S. And then Tiffany Patterson also states that college athletes put their bodies on the line each time that they play. And having watched the March Madness college basketball tournament years ago, there was an athlete named Kevin Ware. He was a player at Louisville University. He suddenly had his season come to an abrupt halt because he had broke his leg in a basketball game, not knowing if he could ever recover from his gruesome injury because it was so bad. This right here shows that if he was getting paid, he would have some money to fall back on for his hospital bills and just for different things that he wanted to maybe get himself better as far as physical therapy or anything like that. And if he did not get hurt, he could have possibly went on to make the NBA and make millions and millions of dollars more than what the NCAA would have ever paid him. Having over 40 hours a week invested into sport, and they could be working these 40 plus hours and making money, the compensation should definitely be there for the athletes. Okay, so the second reason why they should be paid is they bring in so much money for the university to spend on different school buildings, new dorms, upgrades to their facilities, and much, much more. Athletes like Zion Williamson, who was a Duke basketball prodigy, who was there, I believe, 2 years ago, brought in millions and millions of dollars for the Duke University and for their college basketball team. And he should, not just him, everybody should receive some type of money, especially for how much he and the team did for the university from him playing basketball there. And a visual aid that I had is I looked up what Zion Williamson's net worth was at Duke University, and it was $5 million. It's backwards, so I don't know if you'll be able to see. And then his scholarship was $56,000. Yes, it was a full scholarship, but if you have $5 million and you get a $56,000 scholarship, I mean, the prices don't even compare for how much he brought in to the university. He should have got some type of compensation. And then I did research on another athlete who was a running back at Penn State. His name was Saquon Barkley, and his net worth while he was at Penn State was $3.7 million. And he had a full ride scholarship, which was $35,000 right there. And like I said, the prices don't even compare. I mean, $3.7 million it was his net worth while he was there and how much he brought into the university. And then he got a scholarship, which is nice, but like I said, the prices don't even compare. They should be getting some type of compensation. And lastly, it interrupts their school time. They do not have the amount of time to study for tests and homework like their average college student, like myself, does. Therefore, their grades may lack a little bit and not be as good as your average student. If they did not play a sport, they would have the same amount of time as everybody else. But as stated above, that they put over 40 hours a week into this sport, so they're not going to have nearly as much time to do homework or be studying for a test that is the next day or any of that. And some college athletes work so hard at their sport because some of them were in poverty when they were little and they do not have a lot of money. But in order to get out of this poverty, many people work very hard at a sport to try and provide a living for not only themselves but for their family as well. So giving the athletes some type of money could help some families get out of poverty and help support their families a little bit better. This does not harm anybody in any way, shape, or form. It actually only helps people, especially the college athletes, being able to get some type of money with all the money that they did produce for the universities, and they should get money and not be able to tell people who shouldn't be able to tell them what they can or can't spend it on, especially if they are bringing in X amount of money. And there's one problem with the situation. People are going to argue that schools are giving out full ride scholarships and scholarships in general, which I totally get. It's a good chunk of money that you're getting. You're going to school for free or at a discounted price. But for the amount of money, like I said earlier, like Zion Williamson, his net worth was $5 million and his scholarship was $56,000, which is a good chunk of money, but it doesn't even compare on how much he did bring into the school. It seems that of lately, many prodigy athletes, especially in basketball, many players are choosing to play overseas and not play in the NCAA because they are not getting paid. Whereas if you go overseas, you get paid. It's not a whole lot of money, but it's something that you can fall back on, and it's nice to have some spending money. LaMelo Ball, for example, he was one of the top high school prospects, and he went overseas to play basketball in Australia because he was getting some type of money and compensation. So that he lost his NCAA eligibility, and the NCAA is just going to keep losing money when athletes go across seas or to a different country in order to get paid. They're going to get money, and the NCAA stock is just going to drop down because people are going to tune into these other sports teams and other basketball, hockey, football, any type of sport outside the NCAA. So many athletes want some type of money and are deciding to do this and go overseas like LaMelo Ball did. They're trying to accomplish a lot with getting some type of money. Personally, I think it's an uphill battle, but it can be done in the future. I chose to do this topic because it's a topic that is brought up every single year with some type of controversy, and I think it should be solved fairly easily. College athletes should be paid for the 3 reasons stated above and be able to spend their money on whatever they choose to spend it on. Thank you for listening to my speech.